What's up, guys? Joe here from Force Wheel Tavern, bringing you the newest discussion video on the spoilers for Seven Kings of the Land. So, as you guys saw in my previous video, we did a little spoiler release, or not spoiler release, but a little spoiler video on the water cards that are coming out. And today, as you can tell by this card, we are going to be talking about the light. So, instead of me rambling, let's just dive right into it. So the first card we're going to be talking about is Arla, the Winged Lord. So now, I was actually really hyped, especially when I saw his art, because I feel like Arla, is it him or her? I'm going to say him. Looks like a guy right now. But Arla is honestly, I was really hyped because of the art. And also, light is one of my favorite colors, along with blue. So with that being said, obviously I'm very biased toward this card with the art. But his J activate is obviously, like most of the other rulers right now, is pay 2 light. To flip him over to his J ruler side, and then thankfully it's not actually an activate or a tap ability too for the other one, but it's pay 2 light, and target resonator with flying that you control gains +2/+2 until the end of turn. So I honestly think it's mediocre ability. It does make for some interesting plays, but it does add on to a card, but we'll get onto that later on. But when Arla J activates, he flips over into Arla, the Hegemon of the Sky. So he gets pretty beefy, in my opinion. He's a 900, 700, so he's not the biggest J ruler, and he's still flamesable, but his other abilities are really good. So it's a white resonator, or a light resonator, I should say, with flying, or a light ruler with flying, I should say. Which I think at the moment none of the other light rulers have this ability. He's the only one, so that makes him one of a kind. And when this card enters your field, you could search the main deck for an angel resonator, reveal it, put it to your hand, and then shuffle your main deck. So when he comes into the board, guys, you just get a free search just for no reason. Really good for consistency issues that I know White's been having, unless you're playing certain decks. I know if you play something that has like Percival in it, obviously that helps with some of the consistency issues, especially since you can search out the Regalia cards now in this upcoming Regalia meta. His other ability, which is honestly probably my favorite ability in the game right now, just reading this. Just a huge nuke from what I gathered from it. But his God's Art is called Rain of Arrows. So for 2 light and for 2 colorless, whenever a J Resonator you control attacks this turn, this card deals 400 damage to target Resonator your opponent controls for each time one of your J Resonators you control, or you know what, never mind, it's not a nuke, it's just a kill spell. I don't know why I thought it was a nuke. I thought it divided up the damage between all creatures, or all Resonators that your opponent controlled. Still not bad if there's something really tricky that you want to get out of the way, especially if there's a really big Bahamut in front of you, so you can just knock it out of the way and not have to worry about it anymore. Or even, like it really depends on what else you're playing against. But he can knock out that really tricky and annoying J ruler, which is really cool. But nobody wants to talk about just Arla, guys, because Arla gets a really sweet support with his Regalia that comes out called Artemis, the God's Bow. So this is honestly another really cool Regalia. Again, I was really hyped by the art for both Arla and Artemis. So Artemis gives the J ruler target attack. So Arla will have target attack and flying if you're using both, all of this in the same deck. Obviously, if you're just playing this straight through. When this card enters the field, you put 2 arrow counters on it, and if your J ruler is Arla, the Winged Lord, or Arla, the Hegemon of the Sky, you're going to put 4 on it instead. So if this card's coming into play when you already have the J ruler or the ruler, it doesn't matter which one, you're going to put 4 arrow counters on it. If I can speak English, my goodness. But then onto the other abilities that this card actually has. So if you tap it down, you can remove an arrow counter from this card, and it deals 400 damage to target attacking or blocking J Resonator. That's really good, especially just for tapping it, and you're already getting at least 2 arrow counters on this card, no matter what deck you're playing, so you're getting at least 2. And that's going to be really hard to get around, in my opinion, because you're just going to put something on the board and it's just going to deal 400 damage to it right off the bat. And then on top of that too, if you have a ruler, or a J ruler, I'm sorry, that is just very weak on its defensive end, then it's just going to get knocked out of the way once it starts attacking or blocking. So it's going to be pretty tricky to get around. Then the other ability is to remove 2 arrow counters from this card. You could destroy a target addition resonator or a card to chant standby area. I really like that for the new the new abilities that got spoiled. I believe it's called Stealth, which means you could put a resonator in your chant standby area. From what we know, I don't think we have any distinct rulings on that ability just yet. I believe that's going to be a new game mechanic, but this actually pops it while it's down. If I'm interpreting it the right way, it's going to play that way. Then it's going to pop it while it's face down, guys. It doesn't matter what it is. It's going to pop it while it's face down. So go ahead. You can set that, big, enormous creature that you were going to play as a trap card, and it was going to, devastate me, but now it's just going away. Really, really, really cool card, and I honestly think that's going to be a solid sideboard in certain decks, especially, again, if you're playing a card like Percival. You can just dig it out. And then the last ability for it, you tap it down, remove 4 arrow counters from this card, and you can destroy a target J Resonator with flying. So, not my favorite ability. Obviously, you would have to have Arla as your ruler or J ruler to be able to really use this effect, which it makes it okay, but not many J Resonators, from what I've seen, are going to have flying unless you're playing cards such as like Alice. So it's not a bad ability, but for 4, it just takes off so much. I'd rather keep the ability to remove an arrow counter from this card and have it deal 400 damage, or remove 2 and then destroy an addition Resonator or the chance standby. Like I said, it's a pretty solid card to really have for even a sideboard in this Regalia meta. So Arla's getting some pretty sweet support, but White in general is getting some sweet support. This card, not so much. It's obviously just a vanilla, but it is an angel. So obviously the new pure light deck is going to be just angels. Well, not just angels, I should say, but mostly angels. So obviously this card's an 8/8. It's a 4, 2 colorless and 2 light mana to put it into play, and it's just a flyer. It's just a basic vanilla, but an 8/8 4 mana flyer really isn't a bad thing to have, especially just a vanilla that's going to be a really big beat stick that they're going to just have to get around, and they just can't block it unless they have another flyer. So it's not a bad card, but the reason why I don't think this card's actually going to be very bad is because of another reason coming up. Not this card, but Protection of the Seraph is actually one of the new cards that was spoiled in this upcoming set. It is just a common, I believe, and it's a 1 mana addition Resonator that added Resonator can actually not be attacked or targeted by spells or abilities your opponent controls, so it's going to make the really big beat sticks that White can make untouchable, in my opinion, because if it can't be attacked or targeted by spells or abilities that your opponent controls, then how are they going to be able to get around it? The only way to really get around it is if this card gets cake zoned, or if you can actually destroy the Resonator before this card comes into play with something along the lines of Thunder or Flames or something along those lines. And at that point, it really baits out those big things that they have that they've just been sitting on to try and kill your creatures or whatever it may be. So it just kind of baits it out and just leaves room for additional plays late game, in my opinion. So it's not a bad bait card in some certain situations. I don't think it's the greatest card, but it can definitely be really trolly, especially if you get something big on the board. Then my personal favorite card that this set is going to be giving out, for light, I should say, it's a spell chant instant. It's called Give Wings. So it's similar to the Blue Valhalla card. I think it was called Evolution or something like that, that gave your Water Resonator flying, or just the Resonator it was attached to flying, I should say. And then this one actually does it a little bit better, and it's an instant rather than just a spell chant. So target Resonator gets +200/+200 and flying until end of turn. So when it attacks, you can just cast this, just give it flying. It's like, hey, you want that quick kill spell, oh, my creature can do it. Just gonna attack, just give it flying, and now your opponent can't do anything about that. So it's going to be a pretty cool kill card, in my opinion. Not the greatest card, but a really cool kill card, especially if you can combo that with Arla's second ability that we went over, to give a Resonator with flying +200/+200, because you could just stack that up together, which is really cool, and then just give it additional damage. So really sweet. But now my favorite card in this light, or my second favorite card in the set, I should say, for light, is actually Celestial Wings Seraph. And no, guys, not just because of the art. I actually think this card is really solid, especially for consistency issues that I know some of these decks may have. And I've always seen Light as one of those decks that should be gaining life as it goes. And I know we kind of have that right now with Galahad from the Alice structure decks. But this card actually makes it specifically for the Angels. And I think it's going to make the Angel archetype really good and not necessarily overwhelming, but really, 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 really hard to get around if you can get a bunch of Angels on board, which this card helps you do. So she's an Angel. She's obviously got flying. She's a 1,000 beat stick. So again, if you could just stack up a card such as Protection of the Seraph, it's just going to be really difficult to get around. You just can't do it. You really just can't do it. And then even give wings doesn't do anything. It's already got flying, but I'm going crazy. But this card also has the ability. When this card enters your field, you may search your main deck for an Angel Resonator with total cost 4 or less, put it into your field, and then shuffle your deck. So you can just sit there. You can go Celestial Wing Seraph, and then just bust out an 8/8 Beat Stick with Dignified Seraph. So it's really insane to just be able to drop an 8/8 Beat Stick for what? Just entering the board? That's all it is. So I honestly think that's going to make Light really big. Obviously, the cards unfortunately don't have haste, but that still just gives you those field consistency that, or gives Light the field consistency that it needs to really be able to compete. And that's what I really like about this deck, and I think it's going to be bringing a lot of diversity into this meta, just like Blue will, I feel. And it also has this ability of whenever this card attacks, you gain 300 life for each angel you control, and obviously she's an angel herself, so you're going to gain plus 300. You're going to get 300 life just for even having her attack by herself. So if you get that, and you also have Starwing Seraph or Dignified Seraph, I'm sorry, you have Dignified Seraph on board as well, and they're both attacking, or that's attacking, and you have this card on board, then you're just going to gain 600 life just for what? Having your creatures swing in. It's I don't even know what to call it. It's just going to be an absolutely crazy meta. I definitely want to pick up this deck. I think this deck's going to be solid this format. Even though Light is a fairly slow color, I think there's going to be ways to really make it better and make it bigger. And you can even put in Excalibur also in this deck from the Alice structure decks, just to be able to give it that extra mana consistency, to discard and just make a Light to help ramp the deck up a little bit. Almost like playing an extra Gretel, but not as good as Gretel. But anyway, guys, so that's the Light spoiler on Arla the Winged Lord and the Hegemon of Hegemon of the Sky. So let us know what you think. I really want to know what you guys think this card's going to do to the meta, or what you think Light's going to do to the meta, I should say. Do you guys think it's still going to be not underwhelming, but do you guys think that this is going to be a meta-changing deck? Do you think it's just going to be kind of there? Or do you think Light's finally going to get its chance to shine? So let us know what you think in the comments below, guys. Share us, subscribe to us. We definitely got a lot more content coming your way, and we're going to be doing a lot more for you guys, all right? This is Joe from Force of Will Tavern signing off, and I'll see you guys next time. Later!